Do you realize what you've just seen? The Cowboys went into Minnesota last night, Thursday Night Football, defeated the Minnesota Vikings, who have an outstanding defense. Corners are off the chain, lockdown guys, and defeated them 17-15 to win their 11th straight game. But let's talk about the macro view first of all. Everybody's sitting here talking about 3 games, 3 wins, and 12 games. That's what they do all the time. Every time that the Cowboys play Sunday, Thursday, it's 3 games in 12 days or 3-11, however you want to compute it. Every team in the NFL does 3-11 now. If you have a Thursday game, you're doing 3-11. The real caveat here was the Cowboys doing 4-18 because they did not get a mini bye after they played on the short week. They had to turn around and play 7 games later instead of the usual 10 games. Instead of the usual 10 days. So that's really what they accomplished. They got 4 wins in 18 days. And not only did they do that, they went into Pittsburgh on the road, defeated them when the Steelers were against the wall. Then they defeated at home the Baltimore Ravens, who they had never beaten before. Then they turned around on a short week and swept the division rival Washington Redskins, despite the fact that their offense went completely ham. And then, following that, on just 7 days rest, they went on the road into an extremely tough environment to take on the Minnesota Vikings. Overall, this is an outstanding stretch. Not only have they won 11 in a row, but look at these last 4 games, just in a capsule. It was an amazing performance for them, and they did it when they weren't even playing well in the areas that they always play well in. The offense was terrible. Dak Prescott had his 2nd consecutive game under 200 yards. He only passed for 139. The majority of that went to Dez Bryant. Dez had another monster game, but all in all, the only 2 people that really performed were Dez Bryant and Ezekiel Elliott. And I shouldn't say that. Prescott also made a huge difference with his running. He was a scrambler. He escaped pressure. He got first downs. He did what he had to do to win the game. And that actually might be more telling about what kind of makeup this team has than the games where he's able to throw for 3 touchdowns and approach 300 yards and all of those sorts of things. They won an ugly game when they were tired, when they had every single excuse to fold up and say, it's just not our night. The referees were against them the entire evening. Every time the Cowboys got momentum, boom, there was a very questionable call, and it seemed as if the refs were just trying to keep the game close because the Cowboys were obviously the better team when it came to talent when you look at everything together. They were getting pressure on Minnesota's Sam Bradford. They knocked him out of the game for a little bit, and it was just an amazing thing to see that the Dallas defense came to the rescue when the offense wasn't doing their job. That's really the first time all year that we've seen a defensive effort where the Cowboys were just simply locking everybody down. Now, the Minnesota offense has problems. Their offensive line is in shambles. TJ Clemming shouldn't even be in the NFL, and we saw that DeMarcus Lawrence finally got untracked a little bit. He had 7 pressures in the first half. That was a record for him. He has never had more than 5 pressures in a game in his career. And then we also saw Benson Mayowa got a sack. We saw Malik Collins pressuring from up the middle. Tyrone Crawford is still missing in action. I don't even know why we're paying him what we're paying him, but we won't nitpick right now because everything else seemed to work for the Cowboys defense. Now, the one thing that we didn't like about it was when the game was on the line, the Cowboys defense did not come through. They did allow the scoring drive at the end of the game that allowed Minnesota to be in position for a 2-point conversion, and the refs kind of sort of let the Cowboys get away with a penalty when Cedric Thornton smacked Sam Bradford in the face after the pass, but honestly they missed a call because the left tackle false started and it should have been a 2-point conversion try from back of the 12-yard line. The play shouldn't even have counted, but we'll take what we can get. Again, the offensive line did their job. Zeke Elliott had a huge 43-yard run brought back on a phantom call on Doug Free. There was a fake clipping call on Gavin Escobar. There was a fake interception. There was an interception that was negated because Orlando Scandrick supposedly hit a guy in the face, illegal hands. He was under his neck. On the backside of the helmet. There were many calls that went against the Cowboys that made things a lot more difficult than it needed to be, but they persevered. They overcame that. Minnesota was fighting. Mike Zimmer, their head coach, wasn't there. He had emergency eye surgery, so they were playing for him. They were on Thursday night. They were at home. They were obviously better rested than a traveling Cowboys team, but it didn't matter. That's what we saw. We saw the Cowboys say, once again, it doesn't matter what kind of game we have to play. We're capable of doing this. And now they have 11 games in a row under the belt, 11-1. Now, turning to the weekend, we're seeing that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are traveling to San Diego. They're hot, they're 6-5. But if they lose or they tie, Dallas locks up a playoff berth. Even if they win, and Washington, who goes to Arizona and to the Cardinals, if Washington loses in Arizona, the Cowboys clinch a playoff spot in the first weekend of December. They now have a beautiful buffer over the New York Giants. They can clinch the NFC East if they defeat the Giants next Sunday night on national television once again, regardless of what the Giants do in Pittsburgh. So all in all, the Cowboys are on a very good roll. They have two games up on Seattle in the loss column when it comes to home field advantage, and everything is shaping up for the Cowboys to now get this 10-game bye, recuperate, and then do what they need to do during the home stretch. It's an exciting time to be a Cowboys fan, but don't get it twisted. This team has shown now they can win in a multiple variety of ways, and all bets are off for the rest of the season. Let's see how this team does. You know I'm excited. You can tell it in my voice. That's all it is. I'm KD Drummond for your Cowboys game recap. 17-15 over the Minnesota Vikings. That's it. We're out of here. Salute.